What's good, y'all? We got a video by Read My Soul. Tyler, the creator, owes the cultural conversation. He been in some hot water this week, so I want to get his perspective on it, and I'm going to give my perspective on it. Without further ado, let's get it started.
I personally believe Tyler the Creator owes the culture a conversation. Tyler the Creator is currently on the hot seat in these internet streets. He went to do a tribute to the late great D'Angelo and his whitewashed anti-black fan base that he created during his edgelord era on his rise with Odd Future exposed themselves, and people are calling him out because of it. So let me start out by talking about
And this something that I personally wanted to share about the Tyler, the creator shift, because I grew up with the Tyler, the creator that he named, which is little backstory. I went from a very small middle school to one of the biggest high schools on the west side of the state. And it just so happened we had a lot of suburban kids. And my first interactions with black kids from the suburbs who had a little bit more money than I did, not a problem with that per se, but there was just similarities and differences, right? And one of those differences is they showed me Tyler the Creator's extended discography. And they're like, yeah, this is so dope. This is so good. And I had only listened to Yonkers up until this point. That's all. That's the extent of Tyler the Creator I knew. I was like, yeah, that's a dope song. Different, different. That's all I can say. It ain't the typical rapper aesthetic, but we've seen this before. Artists like Kanye. Anywho, they play when he was in that Wolf Haley was it, or like the Goblin album and stuff like that, bruh. The stuff that he was rapping about, I was like, yeah, this ain't this is not for me. It's just not my cup of tea. He liked it, but I necessarily did not care for it. And it was specifically when you learn about where Tyler the Creator's grew up and his influences, you could understand why that would appeal to suburban black kids and maybe some suburban white kids. But for the most part, that's how I was introduced to it. So his antics, bruh, in that edgelord era is very much real. And in some ways, I don't know why he's trying to act like it didn't exist.
my journey with Tyler the Creator, because as you can see here, I was a huge fan of Chromacopia. Up until Igor, I was not a fan of Tyler the Creator because I did hear a lot of the weird anti-black rhetoric that Tyler the Creator was spewing during his climb to the top. I didn't like Odd Future, Wolf Game, Kill 'Em All. I really didn't start hearing about Tyler the Creator until I moved down south and I started to hang out with suburban, white, nerdy black kids. Because
I promise y'all, I did not watch this video, but my only twist to it was these was suburban black athletes because I was an athlete in high school, so naturally I hung around other athletes, and they was really into Tyler the Creator, and it just wasn't it for me. I was like, am I weird? But it's crazy. I promise y'all I did not watch this video, but this was the target demographic or the target audience who was listening to him.
it just wasn't for me. It just didn't get it. I feel as though Tyler the Creator is a representation of what I like to call the because of the internet kids. There was a split during the early 2000s where kids in the black community and white kids alike, they were trying to find their identity. They were trying to find themselves, and they were trying to split from the hip hop of old. A lot of these Tyler the Creator fans are very similar to Drake fans, and I link both of those fan bases, even Kendrick Lamar fan base, J. Cole fan base. I link a lot of these newer fan bases to Kanye West. See, I'm a hip hop head, so I like.
See how I mentioned Kanye West earlier? Them artists is against the typical what they was selling. Yeah.
Like Kanye West because he represented the new version of Tribe Called Quest. He represented the new version of Outkast. He represented the new version of De La Soul. He represented the new version of what I like from Tupac and what I like from Biggie. You know, when it was all a dream or Brenda's Got a Baby, he spoke up on dropping out of college and hating his 9 to 5 and working for Gap. In the early 2000s, you started to see these Tyler the Creator type suburban black kids that liked anime, that liked skateboarding, and created an identity for themselves that was out of the necessary need of survival. Because when you move into suburban white America, as I did when I moved down south, I wouldn't even consider part of South Carolina I moved to suburban, but it wasn't Charleston, it wasn't Columbia, you know, it wasn't a metropolitan area, it was on the outskirts. You get what I'm saying? It wasn't even Savannah. Savannah's the other way. Savannah's actually the major city that we would go to. So I started to hang out with kids that, lived in houses and had both parents and, played Xbox online and had, a love for black culture, but they didn't really know how to deal with it because there was a little bit of racism there. There was a little bit of anti-blackness there. And so that's when I started to hear about Tyler the Creator. The funny thing is,
And a lot of them, I will say, from my interactions with kids like this, are didn't grow up, and it's no fault of their own. That's just what they grew up around, like outskirts, uh, separated from being ingrained in that, which has its positives and negatives. But you miss some of that blackness, or that blackness isn't as widely available to you through your upbringing because of your surroundings. There's no fault of their own. I'm not demonizing parents for kids for having two parents and being able to provide for their kids. Like, that's amazing. But when you are not around, that's just a product of it. It's not inherently negative, but it's a product of that.
February 14th, I tweeted these series of tweets, and I'm gonna read these here. And this is gonna be
And I want to say, if you're not being intentional about teaching them these things, or just important things of black culture that need to be understood.
the basis of my thoughts and the basis of my argument. One tweet I said, I started hanging out with gamer nerds and suburban white kids when I found out about our future. It took me into Igor to get into Tyler Creator. I was used to a different type of lyricism, so I didn't rock with him in Earl's sweatshirt. I was also outside with women. So yeah, I actually was outside. I actually was entrenched and enthralled in the culture. I like 50 Cent. I like the street elements of hip hop because I always understood why Fight the Power or why Fuck the Police to me was a conscious record, right? I understood why Biggie and Pac and street things were still, even though it may have not been the safest for the community. It may have looked bad as far as the Bill Cosby side of the world, the pull your pants up side of the world. I understood that because my mother raised me to, not be in gangs and violence and be in the streets and to become something. That's because she was extremely religious. But I still found my way into gangs and I still found my way into trouble. But it was never anti-black. It may have been.
Yeah, it wasn't anti-black, and that's kind of what he's talking about. Is a shift I saw early 2010s. Is we moving in the drill era where less of a message in between records, because Biggie and Tupac, to use them as examples, of course had records where they could be seen as harmful to the black community, but also had messages like he said in Brenda's Got a Baby, where he does give a message. I love Chief Keef, but you was not getting no Brenda's Got a Baby out of Chief Keef. Respectfully as possible to Chief Keef, and that's where some of that additional substance was. It was missing in that drill era early on, to where people was moving away from that, and then we moved right into rappers wanting to be artists and rock stars. No fault. Again, this is no shade to these people, but it's just some of the different stages music has went through as far as putting a message out there, and there are conscious rappers. And yeah, let me just stop because it's gonna be on a long tangent. That's a whole nother video.
Anti-street, but it was never anti-black. And then I tweeted this: our Future kids and Drake fans are very similar to me. Some became cooler and more mature over time, the our Future kids, and some became weirder and uncool over time, the Drake kids. So I feel as though a lot of this fan, J. Cole, Drake, Childish Gambino, this because of the internet wave, they either grew up and became a supreme Kendrick fan, or they stayed the same and became jaded and became immature and became more of a Drake fan. I feel as though that is the switch that we've seen, and that's what we're seeing to this day, to where Tyler the Creator is on the Kendrick side. He's matured, and you can hear it in the music. Once I started hearing it in the music, that's when I became a fan of Igor. I started hearing him do something different than the God and Odd and Broad and all of that weird, cringy, I guess what they call it, edgelord stuff. Like, I didn't rock with that. I just never have. I didn't rock with Hobson. I'm gonna be real with you. This new Eminem, I don't like that. I like the way I am Eminem. I like Superman Eminem. I like Before I Collapse Eminem. I don't like this new, almost like a parody of himself Eminem. And so this is another tweet that I said, and this is all on the same day, since I think we were having conversations about this early on. I said a lot of these Our Future fans were weird. They didn't like trap music. They didn't like battle rap. They didn't go outside, and they liked anime. Because of the internet is their illmatic. The mature ones love Kendrick. The jaded ones and immature ones love Drake. And that's where I feel as though the split was happening.
That is very true about the split because I'm talking about a whole nother demographic, which was the athlete who I knew athletes that listen to Tyler the Creator, who will also cut on Chief Keef, who will also be on SoundCloud, looking for listening to underground music, so on and so forth. And I fell into I'm not gonna say I'm a super fan. I love music. If it sounds good, I'm gonna listen to it. I will listen to Drake. I will listen to Kendrick. I will listen to J. Cole. If the song is good, I'm listening to it. So that's where I fell in, and I also watched anime very intently, but that's part of my upbringing. My brother gamed, my uncles watched anime, so on and so forth. So I got a mix of everything. Cousins on my mom's side, on my dad's side, I would say listen to 50 Cent. They listen to Yin Yang Twins. They listening to all of these different type artists. They're listening to these people. So I'm picking up all this stuff, Jay-Z, so on and so forth. So I'm getting like a pot of gumbo of culture where I feel like I could almost go in any room and at least say something. I'm not gonna say I'm an expert. That's a stretch, but I could have a conversation with somebody who likes anime, and I could also have a conversation with somebody who enjoys drill rap or the latest Kendrick album.
I feel as though Tyler the Creator fans, maybe a lot of them did grow with him and start liking what he's doing, but some of them probably like, I like Wolf or I like this. You can see that online to where a lot of these
They fell
edgelord
off.
kids don't like Chromacopia, don't like Igor, don't like Don't Tap That Glass. And Tyler the Creator is probably
They don't like
starting to
Flower
come
Boy
to
either.
himself and starting to understand maybe a lot of the era of ways. He's going to lose a lot of fans, and that's why he deserves to give us a conversation. And this is where the split and divide is in hip hop today everywhere. You see it in Drake fans, you see it in Kendrick fans, you see it in a lot of Tyler the Creator fans because they grew up hating the street elements of hip hop. They wanted to be into skateboarding. And I understand it. This is why I'm not bashing Tyler and why I want a conversation for him, which I think he should. I think Tyler's been very open, and even with his push on against DJ Khaled. I think that's when Tyler the Creator started to win a lot of people over, is when he had to push back towards DJ Khaled, because that was kind of like the street versus the nerd fight. It just wasn't an anti-black thing. And this is what I want people to understand. The reason why Tyler deserves to give us a conversation is because a lot of his rhetoric was anti-black. Now, don't get me wrong. There's been plenty of people that have an issue and a problem with the streets. I have an issue with the problem with the streets of today. So
Yeah.
when Tyler was going against DJ Khaled, I kind of took it as okay, the artists are winning, not these, not the corporate label stuff, but behind that, it probably was a little bit of a streets versus the nerds kind of thing. And that's been happening in hip hop a lot lately because there's different. Hip hop is different now. Music is different. Even Kendrick is different.
But you gotta find if we talking DJ Khaled, right? We know some of these artists that he is pulling in for these projects can be considered as street rappers, right? But they gotta get a name for themselves. You're not just popping up on no DJ Khaled album if you don't have a name for yourself or some type of connection. So to say it's a street thing, I believe it's more so a where you at? What are you doing right now? What can you contribute to boost the cloud up of this? Because it's the same argument as that DJ Khaled was having, that Kendrick and Drake was having, which is I'm trying to get the party lit. I'm trying to have this. I'm trying to play something to have women involved and have them playing my music as well as it being played in clubs and on the radio. And Kendrick he will make radio songs, but that's not his primary focus. Is to put out a album that with a bunch of singles on it. That has, not saying there's devoid of singles, but not to put out a full length album that's trying to be intentionally played on the radio for a pop rap type audience. He's not doing that. He's not falling into that category. So that's kind of the dynamic I've seen between Tyler and DJ Khaled, because Tyler the Creator is being experimental with some things. He's trying to sing. He's bringing it. He's doing different types of things with his music videos. So that's what I see happen. He's challenging himself, other than trying to perfect the perfect radio commercial sound that can be enjoyed by the masses.
Right? A lot of people love Kendrick for To Pimp a Butterfly and Good Kid, Mad City, and maybe even, and Damn, but they're not gonna really understand Mr. Morale and the Big Step. But some of them won't understand GNX because GNX is a little bit more street. It's a little different. It's a little bit more black, a little bit more gangster. And keep it.
It do have commercial, but the difference between Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is you wasn't hearing Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers singles per se as you hearing a Squabble Up, you hearing a Luther, you hearing these other songs. It's slipping my mind right now, but the song with AZ Chike, you that them wasn't on social media and getting the type of push that Mr. Morale. I enjoy Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. I enjoyed that album, but it's not. it's more so on the popular side, so to speak. Not saying it's inherently pop, but it's more listenable by the masses.
Real with you. GNX is a little bit more thuggish.
But it is more street. I agree with him.
Where if you listen to Chromacopia, it's extremely black. If you listen to a lot of the sounds that Tyler the Creator is playing with, it's extremely black. And that's going to rub his Edge Lord fans the wrong way. And so I think Tyler is growing. I think Tyler is getting better. But we have to understand that there was a split. This Childish Gambino, because of the internet wave where hip hop got a lot softer, a lot of people like to blame Kanye. If you notice, Drake started out as a huge Kanye fan. Tyler the Creator, huge Kanye fan. A lot of these guys come from that tree of Kanye. If you listen to Watch the Throne, Kanye was like, I might even make him be Republican so everybody know he loved white people. There was a time where white people thought Kanye hated them. And so I don't know where it switched, where Kanye, it became, I guess, a raccooning a little bit. But there was a time where everybody thought Kanye hated white folk. And so what we're seeing now is this switch. And this is
Because everybody, you know why? It's the famous clip. George Bush don't care about black people. That's a major reason why, and he had the backpack rapper aesthetic. But yeah, that famous clip, that one, yeah, that's why.
good conversation because Tyler also
Or it's a major contributing factor.
comes from the troll era of the internet, where a lot of people were trolling and doing things just to do clicks and just to be, it's kind of like a bad kid. I ain't gonna lie. While I was editing this video, I was looking up some more information on my man Tyler, and he was wilding. He was big wilding. But I want to cut him a little bit of bail because everybody is perfect on the other side of this camera. Y'all up in internet world, y'all perfect. But I don't think a lot of people understand the internet era and how a lot of people grew up on the internet. The internet is very new. American society is very new.
I hate to bring this up. I hate to say this word because I think it's overused and inappropriately used. Cancel culture. This was pre-cancel. You could pretty much say and tweet whatever you wanted. I mean, look at the King Vine tweets. People would just say anything. I can't remember what I tweeted 10 years ago, but I know I would not want my old tweets dug up. I know for a fact I wouldn't want my old tweets dug up and displayed on the internet for people to scrutinize and for people to interpret the way they want to interpret. So I'm gonna be self-aware, bro. People on the internet, like he said, it's still new. So I would assume if a lot of people had the foresight that people will go back to your tweets and find your tweets and post the screenshots of your tweets, we will be seeing a lot more censorship among users if people could see 10 years into the future what they were tweeting in 2010, 2015.
This is a dynasty. America's only 200 and something years old. We never had a generation of people grow up on the internet. And then you look at 2000s culture with the Jackass era, with the super bad era, and the Not Another Teen Movie era, American Pie. Like, there was a war on teenagers. There was a war on the youth. And it was a lot of debauchery going on. It was a lot of degenerate things that were being pushed as normal. Every movie was talking about lose your virginity and partying and drugs and getting drunk and getting high. And then you had, like, the Jackass era, the Darwin Awards era, where people wanted to show you how dumb they were and how stupid they can get. So Tyler grew up on that internet. I grew up on that internet. I made conscious decisions to stay a little bit onto something that was a little bit more conscious, a little bit more conspiratorial, so to speak, right? I was a little bit more like that. I never dived into anti-black things. Actually, my way to gauge if things was right for me is if it was anti-black. If it was anti-black, deuces, right? But that's because I had knowledge of
And I applaud him for knowing even acknowledging something as being anti-black, because as a younger man, I'm just being myself, right? You know, the famous I ain't gonna say that one, but just being myself, trying to fit in basically, and people trying to fit in on the internet. Which, yeah, you think of a movie like Superbad, the what they talking about. I love that movie still to this day, but that era of movies where people was just didn't really care about being PC about things and just making the jokes. So in Jackass and things like that, we had MTV when MTV actually showed shows and not ridiculousness. So a lot of that influence was there. A lot of that type style comedy was there, which hey, that's what it was back then. And I think I will say again, I applaud him for even acknowledging that, because I wouldn't have been able to identify anything as anti-black back then unless it was like overtly racist.
Oh, I listened to a lot of the guys on the corner, a lot of the Israelites. My father's side of the family, they was Nation of Islam, they was Muslim. And so they didn't eat pork. And so my dad didn't eat pork, even though he wasn't religious. It wasn't a religious purpose. It was just, he don't like pork. So I grew up with my mom, making an effort to give me the Bible, give me education, make sure I knew about Frederick Douglass, and make sure I knew about Marcus Garvey and these things. So I was never on no anti-black shit. You feel me? Like that never was my thing. But I know there was a large group of people that were. And I feel as though the best thing Tyler has done is change behavior. Change behavior is better than any apology, is better than anything. I do believe he owes us a conversation, right? Because there's a lot of stuff, some things that I won't get into, but growing up on the internet was wild. It was wild, and it's something new. Scientists are still doing research on what the effects of the internet is, right? We all see it. Grown adults do weird things on the internet to this day. I believe that Aubrey is doing weird things on the internet to this day. He's a grown man, just as much as Tyler is a grown man, but he hasn't changed his behavior. And I think a lot of people like to show the comparison of like, well, you got on Drake, we can't get on Tyler. Oh yeah, totally get on Tyler. But I think the best thing that Tyler has done has changed this behavior, has championed black artists, has championed black music. You get what I'm saying? He's wearing Jordans now. So that's where I'm at with Tyler today currently. This was I recorded this video over a span of 2 or 3 days because I wanted to wait. I wanted to sit and I wanted to give a more nuanced approach to this, because I feel like, man, on the other side of that computer, man, on the other side of that screen, people act like they perfect and people act like they never did nothing. But a lot of people that grew up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s had the internet, they will be looking crazy too. I mean, I seen pictures. There's pictures out there of what they used to do back in the days. And it's not act like there aren't pictures out there of what people used to do. It used to be crazy. So for me personally,
I just go back to imagining because what he talking about, what they did back then, when he go back in time, I'm thinking you go back and record and give people iPhones and Twitch and IRL streamers with something like Freaknet going on, or MTV Spring Break, or when they was actually filming Jersey Shore, because completely unrelated, I found out because when I ain't revisit that show since I was a kid. I probably shouldn't have been watching it like in middle school, but come to find out, they was all coked out on there. I'm like, if we would have known, if we had Twitter and people being able to go live and just stories and so on and so forth, I'm telling you, the digital footprint that did it. Like, they just got to be grateful that they didn't have that digital footprint. I'm just saying.
like to cut bail to a lot of people that grew up on the internet, especially if they were popular. Especially if they were popular during that time in Twitter, 2009 to 2012, 13 Twitter. It was a different world. It literally was a different world. Fortunately for me, I lived in the South to where like nobody besides me was really on the internet like that. Like it wasn't the internet wasn't the center of our life. It started to become that over time. But when I was trying to do YouTube in 2010, 2011, people were like, "What?" And then when I started getting popular videos, people were like, "What? This is real?" Like I was in an area where that wasn't the thing. You know, I wasn't in like a major city. I wasn't in LA. I wasn't in New York. I had moved at that time. So all my people in New York, like, yo, this is crazy. But the people down south was like, they didn't care. You get what I'm saying? We was going outside. You know what I mean? Like we was going to clubs and we was going to Savannah. We was getting drunk. Like we was smoking. Like it was a different life. But I like to throw Tyler. I like to throw Tyler just a little bit of bail because I know what it was like growing up on that crazy internet during those times and the trolling and the things that people did to get attention and keep attention. And so, you know, I think the best thing Tyler has done is change his behavior, but that's not for me to decide. That's for you to decide. What say you? I think Tyler deserves to give us a conversation to address it, and I think he's already started changing his behavior. So I think people are going a little bit hard. I made a tweet that, man, if he had shot somebody or he killed somebody or he went to jail, Bobby Smurda or Gucci Man or whatever, people wouldn't care. People would either do him like Gucci, which is not pay attention to him to no more, right? Because look at what Gucci Man did. He changed his behavior. People don't even care. But had Gucci Man still been on some rah, everybody, oh, Gucci tripping, everybody wilding. Now that Gucci has changed his behavior, people not even talking about the fact that Gucci got a book out or Gucci got an album out. So it's weird. It's that Tyler has changed his behavior. So people just want to bash on him because he's becoming successful and that nerdy edge lord soft type stuff that he do, or whatever you may say, that alternative stuff that he does, people don't like it. And that's really where a lot of this issue lies. People want to call him out because they never liked Tyler. They never cared for him. But he does owe his...
Yeah, and I would say transitioning, this is one of the transitions where it actually works, where he didn't go from hip hop to a different genre like we see with other folks. He went from, it was still always hip hop, but it was like all, like he said, but Tyler the Creator will be fine. I disagree. If he wants to get on a podcast or something and talk about the transition, sure. But the more he tries to fix it or address it, he should have something to where it's curated in a sense to where someone is not necessarily grilling him about it, to where he could talk open and honestly about why he changed his behavior. Because I think the behavior piece is the most important thing. The most important thing, which we seen it in the music already. We seen it in the aesthetic. He's embraced the culture, and I think matured enough to realize that's not what I want to leave behind. And we see this with artists a lot, where people want the old version of the artist and they either go to a higher level or they don't change, or they try to and it gets worse. I think Tyler Creator, good artist, not for everybody, elevated and evolved into something better, into something where he'll be proud of what he leaves behind, the body of work he leaves behind, and what he's evolved into. But all in all, that's my thoughts on the Tyler the Creator situation. Is he canceled? No. I think he will be fine. He'll be just fine. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep the music great. Keep putting on. Keep doing what you're doing. If you want to tribute D'Angelo, bro. If you want to praise and prop up black artists, keep doing it, man.